Hey everybody, welcome back to Everyday Journey. I have no idea how the audio is going to come out on this one because I'm doing it outside my shop, but we'll just wing it, see what happens. It's raining right now and my shop is kind of flooded. I've got an issue with the roof. It's been that way since we bought this place and I just can't do anything in there right now. So this is the Oregon Chainsaw Sharpener. Let's see, model 410-120, I believe. I bought this thing so I could sharpen this saw right here. This is my Husqvarna 455 Rancher. Big saw, big teeth on it, and I had a Harbor Freight chainsaw sharpener. Those things were, it was really cheap. Actually worked fairly well on any of the saws that had the small teeth like this one, but it wasn't precision. It wasn't precise. I mean, you were kind of winging it. You'd get everything just about right, but it would work good enough. The problem was that it just doesn't do bigger saws. So I got this one. This one will actually do both. I'm not sure how the change out's going to be to whether or not I'll be able to easily change it out and set it up for the other saw or not. If it is fairly easy, then heck, I'll just use this one all the time. I'll still have my other one. I can maybe sell it or something, whatever. It doesn't matter. But anyway, this thing is supposed to be, reviews on it were supposed to be pretty good. Let me get this out of the way. I'll show you what's in it. I've opened this before and I don't remember what was in here. In the move, we never bothered with messing with it. And so I just had it sitting here ready to use. I've actually got to use it though, so we got to get it unpacked. Got to actually use it because I got something that needs to be cut with it. Packed in here is the, here's the motor. This is actually what will drive your grinder here. You just don't have a grinding wheel on there at the moment. It does have an LED light underneath, I can see right now, so that you actually be able to see the teeth. We've got all our discs. If you buy one of these yourself, make sure that you open this up as soon as you get it and check the discs because they're fragile, so they can easily get broken. I already checked mine before, and hopefully they are all still good. But you've got 3 of them. You got the small one for the, let's see, you got a thinner one that would work good for the smaller saws. You got a somewhat larger one that works for the big saws. And then you got one that's kind of flat. Not really sure what that's for. I'm guessing maybe if you're grinding something else. Let's see what it says on it. Just says grinding wheel. It says 5 3/4 inches by 1/4 inch by 7/8 inches. So not really sure what that one's used for. It is flat, so whatever it is you'd be grinding, I'm guessing maybe it's used to grind the rake down a little bit. That way, but I don't know. I don't plan on really using that one that much. I do plan on using the other bits to sharpen everything else. I can hand file the rake down so that I can actually get a little bit deeper bite into the wood. So you got your instructions and your safety manuals and your registration. Of course, it's a little late for me in the registration, but and then we've got make sure there's nothing in that. We've actually got the mount itself and then the hardware that goes along with it. So get that box out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and mount this down to at least mount this part down, and then I'll show you how to attach this motor assembly and then attach the blade to it. I say blade, the grinding disc to it, so that we can actually get this up and running and see how well it does sharpen and saw. We're zoomed in a little bit closer here. It has 2 different ways you can mount this. You could either mount it like I did to the table, which this for me is just temporary. I plan on mounting it to the wall like the other way you can later on, but I got to get this issue with my shop fixed first. So once it's mounted down, and I chose to do this first, even though the very first step is mounting this motor to it, I'm not doing that. I'm going to make it easier on myself, I think, and mount this first. So now mounting the motor though, has a supplied bolt, goes through the back right here, and once it's in there, it can't turn. It actually fits in the back. Then we take our motor itself, the whole motor assembly, and you can see here it actually has something that's going to insert right here. There's a hole there, so it'll pivot there. So you can kind of insert the bolt, and we're going to have to spin this around first. Let's try this again. So just moving that out of the way. So we're going to put our bolt through, let it insert itself over there. And you kind of have to fold the motor down. It doesn't fit. It's spring loaded, so it wants to go up. You just have to fold the motor down and keep it pressed against the back. That's how I'm doing it. All right. So now it's on there. Get our cord undone and get it out of the way. So whenever we want to plug this thing in, it'll be ready to go. If you do mount this on a tabletop or something like that, make sure that it's sturdy enough, heavy enough that it's not going to rock, because you're going to be pulling this thing down later. You want to make sure that it doesn't pull the table with it. So we got our handle. Really, there's not much to this. So the handle will go on right here. You got to put the nut into it, and somehow it is actually threading into the plastic as well, because it really doesn't have a large enough hole here for that bolt to go into the handle. But I guess putting the nut on there somehow is allowing it to kind of thread its way in a little easier. Now we just have to get everything down here adjusted properly. And I think I really spun this the wrong way. I should have spun it the other way, but I can pull it. Yeah, I can pull it completely off here, spin it around again. Ooh. So there are, luckily the grease is holding it in place, but there are two spring-loaded ball bearings right there. I'm guessing act like detents. So we could have lost those pretty easily. So now we have to install our grinding wheel. You can see, I guess that's a Phillips screw. Let me go get one. So we take off our plastic cover, and then we can remove the Allen. They give you two Allen wrenches. Let's see, we should have something to lock the spindle. I don't know if there is a spindle lock, but I just held on to it with my hand and went ahead and undid this, so it wasn't that tight. And it really doesn't have to be that tight later on. So you choose the one that you want to put on. Go ahead and center it on there. And then we'll go ahead and tighten this back up. So we'll go ahead and trim this off. And at this point, it's just a matter of getting this set up to the angles that you want, getting this set up to the angle that you want, and locking them all in. And then you can adjust this to determine where it's going to actually lock in place. Let's just try it out. So I think I got this set up about right for me. You'll have to look through the charts, and you'll just have to know what your saw, what your chain is supposed to be sharpened at. So we'll go ahead and mark this one. This is the one I just tested, so it should be sharp. And I'm going to go ahead and advance this thing up to the next one and go ahead and show you that. Now listen, whenever I turn this thing on, you can see how quiet that is. I mean, that is super quiet. Much quieter than the Harbor Freight one. And let's go ahead and advance to the next one. It's not going to be doing any good to sharpen it backwards. So it seems to actually be working fairly well. It does seem to be, I don't know if it's aggressive or not. I have to wait until after I sharpen it and then test it out. It does take some getting used to, because I'm used to having a little squeeze handle to be able to tighten this. So locking this in each time this way is a little different. I did check it out. Was getting really close to it. They don't recommend you actually get this close to it. You're supposed to actually be doing it from above this, but I just wanted to look at it real close and see how it was cutting. I've actually had one of my chains ruined, almost ruined. I took it to a place and they had sharpened it before. I think this was a new guy, and he obviously sharpened it for set up for one of the smaller blades, or one of the smaller chains. And yeah, that thing came back and it wouldn't cut butter. And the angles were all off. Everything was off. So I had to sharpen the crap out of it to get or I had to have somebody else sharpen the crap out of it to actually get it back in the way it's supposed to be. But it took off quite a bit of the teeth. You can see it goes pretty quick. Well, the reason why I'm just touching on these is because this chain was already mostly sharp, so they just really need to be touched up. In between gas ups, or in between fill ups, I actually will hand sharpen it, and that does good for keeping it sharp, but it gets out of true, because when you hand sharpen it, it definitely when you hand sharpen it, it's all out of whack. So you are sharpening it, but all the angles and stuff, they all get off just by a little bit. So eventually you have to put it back on something like this, or something that's actually going to hold your angles true. And you can see it somewhat by this, by the different teeth here. Some of them it's biting into them quite a bit more than the others. And that's just because the angles are off. Just the name of the game. Thing is, you can't really take something like this out into the field with you, so you just have to wing it. So there's one side. Now all we have to do is just undo this, switch it around so we can do the other side, and then this should be nice and sharp. We'll test it out. Should be it. I just got to put it back on the saw and check it out. This saw right here wasn't really that dull to begin with, but it didn't cut quickly. It would cut, but it wasn't quickly. And it was starting to dish, which is what you tend to get whenever you're doing, or whenever it starts to get dull, or at least one side of it starts to get dull and it starts cutting sideways. And this quickly fixed that. It wasn't an issue whatsoever. And I think it wouldn't be a problem at all to switch it over for the other saw. As you can see, all we'd have to do is pop that cover off and go ahead and switch that out to the right size grinding disc, and then just set up your angles and stuff real quick. If you already knew what they were and you had them marked, let's say you had I don't know, let's say you set up all your markings on here in blue. Just mark all the markings in blue for the small saw, mark them in red for the larger saw, and you can quickly just switch back and forth between them. The only thing that you would be a little iffy is your depth stop. That's right here. So, you know, each chain is going to be different on that one. So you just have to do whatever you need to fix that. As long as this is, though, as long as it's left the way it is, then the next time I go to sharpen this chain, I can pop it on there real quick. And if the only adjustment I should have to make at all is just the depth stop. Just make it go down just a little bit more. And that shouldn't be much at all. It may even still have a little bit more, because this does have a little bit of flex to it. May have a little bit more if I was pushing down on it, that would get into it a little bit. But if it didn't, then go ahead and just adjust it down just a little bit, and that would take care of it. So I think I'm really going to like this thing once I get it set up in the shop and actually be able to use it like I want to. It sounds like it's plenty powerful, nice and quiet, nice and smooth. Everything is really, I mean, there's quality in this one. The other one that I have, it's all plastic and everything flexes, and it kind of scares me a little bit to use it. This one I'd have no worries whatsoever in this lasting 10, 20, 30 years maybe. If you got any questions or anything about this or any of my other videos, put it in the comments. I love to read them, love to respond. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and until next time, y'all take care.